Welcome back to the 94 podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. How do Manchester United replace Antony in the starting 11 this campaign? The transfer window is closed. It is over. They cannot bring in someone from the market. So Erik ten Hag has to look into his squad and find one player or two players that can actually give him the value and the quality Antony has been providing, or probably more value and more quality than what Antony has been providing Manchester United with on the right-hand side. Now, the problem with Manchester United and the players they have is Jadon Sancho wants to play on the left. Garnacho is better playing on the left, and of course Marcus Rashford as well is better playing on the left. However, we have seen Bruno Fernandes play in that position on the right hand side where Antony operates. We have seen Marcus Rashford play there as an inverted winger, and we could probably see another interesting name in Facundo Pellistri start more games, become a regular, and even an important player for Erik ten Hag this campaign. Man United fans, talk to me in the comment box below. How would you rather Erik ten Hag replaces Antony? Would you rather Marcus Rashford inverting, allowing Garnacho to play every single game? Would you love Garnacho inverting, of course allowing him that game time because he won't be competing with Marcus Rashford anymore? Or would you rather a player like Mason Mount shifting from the midfield to the right hand side, or Bruno Fernandes shifting from the midfield to the right hand side? Of course that would allow Amrabat, Mason Mount and Casemiro to play in the same team, or Christian Eriksen, Amrabat and Casemiro or Bruno to play in the same team. So let me know in the comment box below, how would you rather Manchester United and Erik ten Hag replace Antony? So in this video, I'm going to use the tactical board. We're going to do a couple of analysis on how Manchester United could actually replace Antony with a couple of different players. The one thing you have to understand with this one is that Man United don't have a lot of squad depth, especially this campaign, especially with the kind of window they have had, right? So with Antony out, it will massively take a toll out of them. It will massively affect them. This is how Erik ten Hag has been setting up this side. Andre Onana in goal. They set up with Lisandro Martinez and Lindelof of Varane at centre back. Diego Dallo has been deputizing with Luke Shaw out. Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the right back position. Casemiro and Eriksen play in that kind of double pivot. Marcus Rashford, Bruno in the 10, Antony, and Rasmus Hojlund is expected to be that everyday starting striker for Erik ten Hag. So that is the 11 that Manchester United are actually using. And the reasoning behind this starting 11 is Marcus Rashford can literally play more as a striker, so he can join up with a striker and he can run into these spaces into here in the penalty area and form that kind of support striker, and he's always done that. Marcus Rashford's game under Erik ten Hag is all about goals. However, Antony on the other side, combining with Bruno Fernandes right on this right hand side, is concerned more with creativity rather than scoring goals. Of course, we've seen a couple of times Antony drifting inside and curling balls into the far corner or at times into the near post of the goalkeeper. But what he's doing, Antony, is literally playing as an inverted winger. And as an inverted winger, yes, you can occupy places into the penalty area, but what you're doing is you're inverting into these positions here, creating an overload, and he's trying to create chances from this area here. And we've seen a couple of times Antony not trying to beat his man 1v1, but instead of beating his man 1v1 to enter the penalty area, he literally comes into this area and releases the ball to either Bruno Fernandes or whichever midfielder is actually arriving. So how do you replace a player like that? One thing I will disagree with many people is Antony is not a useless player. Antony is not as useless as many people actually think. Antony is a very key player for Manchester United because when he inverts into this midfield, when he actually tracks back, it allows that kind of freedom for a player like Marcus Rashford to actually roam around this area, to actually get all those benefits that he gets without even minding about his back. So the first way to replace Antony for me would easily be introducing a new player in the squad. That means that you replace him like for like. You take Antony out of the starting 11, which would actually be a little bit harsh, but now he's actually out of the team, and replace him with a player that can actually play in the position, and that player could be Facundo Pellistri. So Man United fans really love Pellistri. He's a player that I really love when it comes to the youngsters in the Premier League. Is he ready for the Premier League? Those are questions we'll be asking a lot of the time. Is he ready for the Premier League? That's a question that Erik ten Hag has to answer. Is he a player that he can, rely on? That's a question that the manager has to answer depending on the performances in training. Can Facundo Pellistri become as good as Garnacho, Rashford and Antony? Again, that is a question that time will have to answer. But for me, if you're Erik ten Hag and you have the reputation, you are one of the reputable managers when it comes to dealing with young players, when it comes to giving young players a chance, Facundo Pellistri could be one of those players that are going to benefit from Erik ten Hag being at Manchester United, but also Antony being out of this squad. So Facundo Pellistri is one of them. He can actually drift inside. He can, take players to the byline and cross the ball. He's super talented, right? So I think if Manchester United fans actually saw Facundo Pellistri in the team, they wouldn't be very annoyed. My problem with Facundo Pellistri is maturity and the amount of pressure under which Erik ten Hag and Manchester United are. I don't think Manchester United are in a position where they would allow a player, give him that kind of time to flourish or, pick up as a youngster. I don't think that is the phase where Man United are. But Pellistri, he's proven time in, time out that he can come in and do this role very well. Now, the other player that can actually come in and replace Antony, like for like, in my opinion, would be Mason Mount. Now, like for like literally means that Mason Mount will have to give up on his responsibilities partially as a midfielder. He will have to play as a winger, but operating in midfield. So let's go with shot number 7, and that is Mason Mount. So one thing we've seen with Mason Mount this season, or at least so far, under Erik ten Hag, is he's going to be playing facing forward. He's going to be concerned with the opposition's penalty area, the opposition box, as compared to his own penalty area. And where the key highlights are actually coming from for Mount is not, he's failing to tackle, he's failing to win the ball back. It is actually failing to pick up the easy passes and failing to finish off the easy chances. Mason Mount could be a key player for Manchester United down this right-hand side. And why? Mason Mount is a player that is engineered and he is actually tilted to the left. So if you played him on the right-hand side, it means you'll be getting the same thing. You'll be getting a midfielder who doesn't really want to go to these areas and cross the ball. That is not what Erik ten Hag wants. But you will be having a midfielder in Mason Mount picking up the ball in these areas and then just drifting centrally into the midfield. The one thing we know with Mason Mount, he is a number 10. Because he's a number 10, then that means it allows Erik ten Hag to play him on either flank and then allow him to come centrally in these zones here. He can actually create a lot of chances for Marcus Rashford on the left hand side and also for Rasmus Hojlund down through the middle. That is the second way Man United replace Antony. If you don't want to replace him with Facundo Pellistri for reasons of age, maturity, he's not yet there, then Mason Mount would be an interesting shot, right? It will take time for Mason Mount because he's a player that is really used to operating on the left hand side, but I think Erik ten Hag can actually work on that as Mason Mount is still very young, flexible, 24 only, can actually turn him into any player that he actually wants to turn him into. Now, the other way Manchester United could do it, this is ridiculous, but give me a chance here, is to play Bruno Fernandes in this position. Exactly. So Bruno Fernandes could shift to the right-hand side. We have seen him play there. We have seen him occupy that space. And he has actually done very well for Erik ten Hag at times when he's played there. So we could have Bruno Fernandes operating in this space, kind of what you see Odegaard do. Like, if he plays in on the right-hand side, it doesn't mean that he's going to be hugging the touchline. It literally means that he's going to be occupying this half space here. Obviously, it's the same way he's playing, although he's starting out as an out-and-out number 10. So, Bruno Fernandes, you're replacing Antony, and that would allow Christian Eriksen become more of your creative player. And what this actually will give Man United is the chance to play shot number 4 alongside shot number 18 in Sofian Amrabat x Casemiro in the pivot. So, if you have Amrabat and Casemiro, you have two very good defensive midfielders, you have two very good holding midfielders. It means you can have Christian Eriksen as your creative player. Obviously, if it's not Christian Eriksen, you can play Mason Mount as your number 10. That could actually also work. So it depends on what the manager really wants to do. But in this case, I'll go with Christian Eriksen. And why is Christian Eriksen for me? For distribution, Christian Eriksen is your guy. For chance creativity, Christian Eriksen is your guy. So what you want to do is to take away the defensive responsibilities, and you want to take away that kind of engine man responsibility from the shoulders of Eriksen. He's not going to have the legs to carry the ball 90 minutes. But how about if you played Christian Eriksen around here, right? Just to allow him press from the front, and Rasmus Hojlund would then be drifting inside the midfield or dropping into the midfield to do the donkey work as Christian Eriksen waits to get on the ball as Manchester United receive it to pick up the quality passes. It means that Manchester United will have added another creative midfielder, another creative player to their system without actually adding a new player. So Christian Eriksen dropping all those defensive responsibilities, it means he can actually play as your typical number 10. In my opinion, that is where this boy should be playing, this guy actually, because we know the reasons. He's getting older, and if he plays as a creative player, if he plays as just strictly as a 10, you'll get more value from him. Bruno Fernandes obviously means that he can run down this area here. We know he loves to start from the center arc or from the center line and then drifting into this space, but on the right hand side, and then coming into central zones and areas. Again, that is another way Man United could replace Antony. But what about Garnacho and Marcus Rashford? Could they be viable options to replace Antony? So let's just get Amrabat out of the starting 11 and bring back Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes back in that creative number 10, and then Antony back in the side. So this is how Man United have been setting up. So when you want to play Garnacho, again, it is as simple as that. Shark number 17, Garnacho comes into the team. Garnacho is left-footed and he's been playing more on the left, like traditionally. I think the way you see Marcus Rashford. What Erik ten Hag has to do with Garnacho is to tell him that you're no longer going to have the responsibility to run this line down. You're now going to be inverting inside and taking shots into the penalty area. You're going to be inverting inside and coming into the penalty area more often. I think this would make Garnacho a bigger threat to opponents, but then it would make him a more goal-scoring and more goal-oriented player and winger. Just like you see players like, Antony. Antony at Ajax was a threat going forward and also scoring goals as well. Why? Because he literally cuts inside. He leaves all that space, for the defender, cuts inside and will curl one or two inside per 90 or at least per 2 games. So Garnacho then becomes your inverted winger. Left-footed, he can come inside. He can also bring in these half crosses as well for Rashford to run onto at the back post, and of course for Rasmus Hojlund or Bruno Fernandes arriving into the penalty area. Alternatively, what Man United could do is get Garnacho to play on the left-hand side where he's more comfortable and use Marcus Rashford as the inverted winger. Wait a minute. There is a very big advantage in Marcus Rashford playing as an inverted winger for Manchester United. And these are the advantages. Number one, I think Marcus Rashford is better as a goal scorer. So playing him as a traditional winger literally limits him and how he wants to play and the best you can get from him as Man United. So how about Marcus Rashford playing on the right-hand side as an inverted winger, which actually allows him to have that direct route, that direct access to goal. It means that because he's left-footed, he can cow those balls into back of the net. He can do that. But then still, because he has those 2 feet, he can also take players and beat them 1v1 and take them to the byline and create those chances for Rasmus Hojlund and Bruno Fernandes as well. One of the other ways you can replace Antony is by simply going to the market and signing a player like El Ghazi. I just don't see how that one works, but Man United think it works. So if you think you agree with me with all the options Manchester United have, which one is better? In my opinion, Garnacho. Garnacho drifting to the right-hand side and then kind of becoming that direct attacking winger, like the way we see Saka, the way we see Gabriel Martinelli. I'll see you right in the next one.